All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Co-Creating with AI. I'm Martin Källström, and with me, as always, is my co-host Rasmus. And today we're going to talk about if AI has yet had its mainstream moments. We had a big Super Bowl weekend, the past weekend, where AI ads took a prominent place, and we have a lot of people talking about AI, of course, all over workplaces and their private lives. AI is making an impact. What's your take on this, Rasmus? What signs are you seeing of AI going mainstream?
Yeah, I think Super Bowl is pretty interesting actually. Not that like I'm a big, I don't really watch Super Bowl, but you always hear about Super Bowl. And 2 years ago was all about crypto. All the ads were dominated by crypto firms. Um, and now it was like, from what I've read and from what I've heard, it was mostly either advertisements for AI products like Microsoft Copilot and
Mm,
new or new AI features to market existing products, like Google did with they had a new smart frame or something functionality in the new Pixel 8, and also brands that have nothing to do with AI. That sort of uh, I think was some kind of mainstream food brand that used it to like showcase how you could generate different recipes
mm,
with their products, with some kind of multimodal functionality with text and pictures, etc. So I
yeah.
think it's just like I'm not really sure what to take away from that, but it feels like, one part of it is that there are AI products, right? There are AI features. But another part of it is kind of like that AI is so central in the collective consciousness, so to say, like in the zeitgeist, that things are filtered through it. Like people use it as an entryway to get kind of attention and to generate interest. So I guess like I'm not sure how widespread it is actually, but it feels like with that kind of with Super Bowl
Yeah.
having that dominance, that it must be like the awareness of AI must be pretty broad, not
Mm,
only in tech circles.
yeah.
What's your takeaway?
Yeah. Um, I make the same conclusions. I think that it's really hard to gauge since we are working full time with AI and has been doing so for 2 3 years now. It's that my feeling is that AI has come to stay and will be very prevalent. But actually, the world is not that different. If you look around, just in the streets and in the stores, like everything is the same. So these and crypto had this Super Bowl moment in 2022 with all the ads being about crypto and or a lot of them, and that doesn't mean that crypto is everywhere now 2 years later. Um, Rather the opposite, like it's really shrunk from mainstream attention. Although like there's been a very recent like uplift with Bitcoin now having the BlackRock ETF in the US. But AI for me is going to have much faster and widespread impacts for people's daily lives, and I think that people are like of all ages are um, becoming more and more like daily consumers of AI services.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty interesting. Like thought that if 2022 Super Bowl probably ordered and decided in 2021, right, which was the peak of
Yeah.
the kind of crypto attention and crypto market. And now we have Super Bowl. We have record valuations for all the big AI companies
Hmm.
like Nvidia, etc. Like if I would make a contrarian market call here, which is what this podcast is about, right? Just like from like a, I'm not, I never remember what this adoption curve is called.
The
Where it's
Gartner.
Is it the
adoption curve.
Gartner one?
Yeah,
Yeah, the one where you go like through these different feelings and you have this
yeah,
hype and then you go down in like disillusionment and then you actually start a steady progress of
yeah,
something coming out and deployed into, production in society.
yeah.
But it feels like from that analysis, just like using the Super Bowl as like the anecdote and like the market prices of crypto and like the big AI stocks,
Mm-hmm,
like it could be that this is the peak of the, the first hype cycle.
mm-hmm.
Like it's not like completely unreasonable.
Yeah.
But like I definitely feel that it's symbol of that. We have had a really steep increase in awareness
Mm,
of AI, and I think we can dive into that from different perspectives today. But I think that's like it's probably a good measurement at least. I mean, not everyone knew about crypto, right? Like me, but my dad had heard about Bitcoin,
mm. Yeah.
but like he didn't really understand it, da 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 da, whatever. Same with AI probably, but it
Mm,
does feel like most people have heard the term and have
mm,
some concept of what it is.
mm.
Um, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. When I was in a coffee shop yesterday, um, like you can overhear people talking about AI, just like sitting having coffee and someone they talk about the phrase I overheard was like that they were talking about should the AI have a persona if it participates in work meetings, like should it have a specific personality then, and I think it's interesting that s- since AI has sort of come in through not only through technology but also with a big existential like scaremongering about AI being perhaps the end of humanity. It has also like brought a philosophical angle into a mainstream discussion about AI, and and that can be then that can live on in perhaps more constructive discussions than only like is AI dangerous, but also like how should we use AI, and people can really reflect on that if because it comes as something that is not only like any kind of any piece of technology. It actually poses questions about what is consciousness, what is intelligence, what is a good technology, and what is a bad technology.
Yeah, I think that's pretty like also comparing it to crypto. I completely agree. Like, because crypto came kind of like, it has this attention, right? And
Hmm.
then people project, whoever is aware of it, project their hopes or fears onto it, right? Because that's kind of the focal point of the
Yeah,
zeitgeist.
yeah.
And then like it's kind of like, oh, this will, destroy society. It's like anarchy and criminals will use it and et cetera, right? And then the people who are pro are kind of like for society, you have the opportunity of kind of a more network-based, free and egalitarian kind of society, less corrupt,
Mm,
etc. So you have these two like fears and hope kind of visions, so to say, of the future emerging. And I think with a like, and that's on a societal level. You never argued that crypto is gonna, it has anything to do with me as a person,
yeah.
really. But with AI, it's pretty interesting because I agree. It's kind of like it probably projects both the fears of like, oh, we will be obsolete
Mm,
or AI will take over, or what's the purpose of being like us, or are we even unique having a soul, like if we take it more religiously. I'm not sure in those circles how people look at
yeah.
it, but like I can really imagine that, like, the argument, like the fear there, and then the hope on the other side, like the EAC people, the accelerationists, like, AI will solve everything,
Mhm.
we will live forever, we will colonize the universe, you know, abundance for everyone, kind of with robots doing everything for us. So it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I really think so. And I think it's much more personal, actually. The kind of focal point of AI makes it much more personal and philosophical and everything. Like,
Yeah, and maybe people like um, Max, the Swedish AI philosopher, who really like made took a hard stand maybe a year ago in saying that we should put a break on AI development. did a big name collection on that from prominent scientists. He really helped promote AI with those
Mm,
efforts.
yeah.
Like that could definitely be be a result because it's that message really came through a lot at that time. And now people are, I think, talking more about what's the actual use of AI and how they should um, make sure that it becomes a positive force in the workplace and so on.
Yeah, I think it's like I think development, if you just look at development of narratives, and this of course should be measured. So like in order for to like actually make the statement, but I'll just make my observation, whatever it's worth, right? Is that for example with like AI in the workplace, I really think that people are realizing that there are quite few jobs initially that AI will actually take and sort of delete. In my view, at
Mm,
least. Like it will
mm,
take longer. Right now, no one will hire an AI as their CFO or CMO or even as their kind of, I mean, people, I guess, in those teams and functions.
mm,
Maybe customer service, you can like, I mean, you could say you're replacing because you're really, really like removing the need for as many people. So I guess in that sense, across these things, but
mm.
you're still saying we're going to make people much more productive, creative, powerful.
Yeah.
We're not saying we can actually remove them, but we can have less of them. So I
Mm,
think there's something in the narrative there where that fear is. I mean, I guess it's still there because if you're reducing headcount, then people are not having as many jobs, etc.
mm.
But that's like a shift in the narrative that I feel that maybe along this Gartner, what do you call it, the Gartner
Hype curve.
hype cycle. Yeah, maybe that's
Hype
it. But
cycle.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but that it's that people are kind of realizing that okay, we're not there yet, right? We might be there in a while, but we're not there yet. And at the same time, I sort of feel that people were a bit shocked, like take the big picture kind of AI doomsday thing, that people were so shocked with like, oh, the computer can actually speak with me. It can, write code.
Mm,
It can
mm.
be creative, like write music, etc. That we sort of, from that shock, projected that, super intelligence would be here in like 2 years.
Yeah.
And my sense right now is that's not fucking happening.
No.
Like that's not happening. Maybe it's 10 years out. I don't know. It's so hard to say, but it's definitely not here. Like now in ChatGPT, like just scaling this, I have a very hard time seeing that it's,
Mm,
conscious or, I mean, even that question, but like that it will be the Terminator scenario,
mm.
right? Yeah, I think, and
Yeah.
I think that fear is subsiding. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think AI is a perfect example of a technology where we overestimate the short-term impact and we underestimate the long-term
Mm,
impact,
yeah. Yeah, I agree.
and
Mm,
which is true for so many things, especially like the internet when it came. And but the future is unevenly distributed is certainly true. And there are people now um, driving their cars while talking to ChatGPT on their Apple Vision Pro headsets, and like really want to dive, like be first over the crossing line into the future, and live there permanently. And then there are that, and that's exactly what the Gartner curve is saying, that there are other that's just is happily chugging along in their old ways, or as they are waiting for the world to decide what to do with new technologies before they adopt them. And that's probably a um, really like the safest way of dealing with new technologies for the big mass of people.
yeah.
I,
And I mean, I
I,
think that's actually, sorry, go on.
I just another anecdote came up for me where like I have a friend from Iceland, and she said when her grandmother uh, first got a phone installed to her house, which was remotely located, like she refused to take any calls. When they installed a phone for her, but they still couldn't speak to her. And she said, "But how can I trust what someone is saying in the like in a machine? Like this is not it's not a person talking. I hear a voice, and it even sounds like you. So like what if it can imitate your voice, then it can make you say anything. Like how would I ever trust that?" And
That's pretty astute, like looking forward
yeah,
to now.
and that was just a normal phone, and it was probably like 50 years ago. But and now those concerns are coming real with the next wave of technology.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a little bit like I don't know which curve to use that for now. I just Googled up these like it was the Gartner hype cycle, and then there's
Hmm.
kind of the kind of innovators and early adopters and like early majority, etc. That curve as well, that bell curve that
Mm.
sort of touches on what you said, like that, it really is unevenly distributed.
Yeah.
Some people are living like maybe most people will live in, 5, 10 years
Mm.
already. Um, but I think it's like just touching back on like, at least for me, framing what's happening here is like this initial kind of thing, then all hopes are gigantic and all fears are gigantic
Yeah.
and unrealistic,
Mm.
right? In the sense that maybe, in the future, but not now. And then like the kind of level of how would you call it, the magnitude of those hopes and fears goes down,
Mm.
and now all of a sudden they're more realistic. So now we have more people. I don't know where we are on like this adoption curve, like if we're like at the only the early adopters still, probably maybe
Mm.
a little bit like touching on the early majority, but like the hopes are more realistic. Like people are more and more people are seriously looking at, how to, like, how can this actually, how can I use this in my work, or are there any value here, or oh wow, generating images is cool, or ChatGPT is useful,
Yeah.
just like very simple things like that for making a recipe or learning something. And same thing with the fears, I think, are becoming more realistic in the sense that what you just touched upon. Like there is actually an issue with like like deep fakes, and it's gonna
Mm.
be like a real issue,
Yeah.
most likely,
Mm.
because that I have a hard time seeing that the defense catches up, like moves as quickly as the offense in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, which we can dive into, but also like other, yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's going to be like there's a sobering up now where things are getting more and more deployed, where there are like real hopes being realized,
Mm.
real value being created, but also like real problems having to be dealt with, which I don't really think we have had to deal with yet. I don't know if there's any like good examples of like of real problems that from AI that we've had to deal with. Do you know any? Like, do you like?
I mean, there are situations, and there are like deep fakes like have been deployed when there was there was a Swedish ambassador to Germany who was sort of um, talking was weighing in the news about some a vote going on, which was like publicly very like in a heated debate. Then there was a deep fake a video of her. This was like 2 years ago, so it was very very early. There was a deep fake video of her saying something outrageous, like obviously meant to diminish her credibility in media, and that was produced by some Russian troll factory or something. Like it was so early that it was no like hobby project, and so these situations happen, and I think they are gonna um, have some impact. But I think basically like we've been able to photoshop images for so long and
Mm,
retouch photographs, and that our our awareness and our criticism of the source also actually increases. Like it keeps, so far it has kept pace, and there's no there hasn't been any cases as far as I know where people have like severely been affected by AI, if you don't count like how the algorithms in social media, which is like promoting um, polarized discussion, where that to engage people, that might actually have had a big impact on how society looks now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think that's like maybe the best defense will actually just be us learning about how we can be tricked and becoming aware of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the frontier of getting food will be always. It's like so. I just actually I just googled on it because I heard about it. Like I think like very recently, yeah. I mean, just a week ago or so, like there was a finance worker being tricked to pay out $25 million
Oh yeah, I saw that.
to
That's a pretty severe actually consequence.
yeah, and I mean, and the cool thing was like on the topic of where our kind of skepticism lies. The way they tricked this person was by actually having a deep fake Zoom call with multiple colleagues, including the CFO of
Yeah.
this multinational, who said,
Mm.
yes, make this payment. You know, or like, I don't know how they did it, right? They
Mm.
probably did it well. Uh, so it's, and at least me, like if I show up in a video meeting and four people I know should
Mm.
be there and are realistically engaging with me and each other, you know, as themselves with video and voice,
Mm.
then mentally I'm still not like aware that that could be like a fraud. But I mean, with more and more of these cases coming, people will be.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I think the actual question will be like, okay, with that lack of trust, like how do we do things, you
Yeah.
know, like how do we trust? Will it have to
Yeah.
go back to like in-person handshakes? You know, I mean, of course there's going to be digital solutions to this as well with like
Mm.
digital identity, etc. But there's something interesting there if like all the digital ways we have of communicating with each other can't be trusted. You know, on the
Mm.
topic of your grandma and her
Mm.
phone, you know, we
Mm.
don't trust when someone calls us, which maybe we shouldn't now because it's quite an easy thing to fake.
Yeah.
Then like how do we interact?
Mm.
Like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
I yeah, I think new pathways um, will be created just by people finding new needs of trusting. But it can be a combination of new social protocols and new technical protocols, and maybe AI can also assist as much as it can be used to attack the social protocols that we do have of trust and financial management. And I was the when I was running narrative. Yeah, I think it's sometime in 2014 or 15, there was an attack on many Swedish companies, including our company, where there were some perpetrators that really made an effort to map out organizations. They made dozens of call into asking like, how do I um, if I want to get this invoice uh, um, paid, who do I talk to, and so on. And they mapped out the roles in an organization and lines of decision, and then they sent a spoof email to our controller from me to pay out some sum and to a new bank account, and with a sense of urgency in the email, and it and that was over email, and but the information was very credible, and it was just like the that we had such a flat organization that something like that, paying out a large sum to a foreign bank account, would never happen without him being clued in on what actually is going on. So he sent me this and said that this isn't for real, right? Even though like the email came from me like with my tone of voice, and but yeah, this could definitely open up new venues of like attack vectors on companies and their and it's also a sense of trust in public voices, in politicians and just celebrities. Like, and Leonardo DiCaprio is probably going to have his brand eroded somewhat by deepfakes over time, or just uh, getting competition from fake uh, celebrities who everybody's aware that this is an AI celeb, but there's still someone that it's interesting to follow, so people listen to them.
Yeah. And I feel like it's interesting. So we touched upon kind of individual skepticism will be the first line of defense, but it will lead to its own problems, like or its own in economics you call it like transaction costs. Like there's
Mm,
friction communicating, interacting, transacting, with someone else. And same thing on like organizational level. What you touched upon like just briefly there was that one of your defenses was that you were a flat organization.
mm,
So I think like organizationally, there's going to be like defenses. Like I think this would probably be its own kind of like branch of social science or not something like resilient. I mean, we've talked about that
mm,
a lot of times, like resilient organizations, anti-fragile organizations. I think maybe with AI, a lot of these like concepts and theories will come into like the forefront. Like, how do
mm,
you build an organization that is resilient? In the sense that it can operate efficiently even with these kind of trust issues that exist, just like in
mm,
terms of communicating. And then on a societal level, like what does that look like? Like how are we resilient and how do we establish like trust and low friction across society, because societies are basically trust in like systems, organizations, each other, values, that's what keeps it together. That's kind of the
yeah,
glue.
yeah,
So it's going to be really interesting. Like, I mean, that kind of shift
mm,
will be like massive. But I think on the protocol level, it's going to be like there's going to be hopefully some way that you can at least trust who, if you would use like crypto speak or like or we use normal speak, like who controls the account,
mm,
posting that information, sending that information with like new methods for 2FA and like being sure that this was a 2FA authorized kind of
yeah,
communication, that I actually know that when you send me that email, you signed it with your bank ID or
yeah,
whatever, right? I think there's going to be those kind of solutions like having to pop up so we at least know that, okay, this person, like if this person hasn't been compromised,
mm, mm,
and then I know that I know it originated from his email or his account or something like that.
mm.
I don't know. Lots of different levels.
and the and the um, the measures could also be about integrating a lot more information, and like so that the paying for paying for something, paying a supplier in a company is not only like oh, there's now a pay order, so I pay out, but that the entire chain of deliveries from that supplier is integrated, and no payment can go out without the system also recording a value being delivered by the supplier and so on. That so that you really close the loop on everything, like digitally close the loop on everything going on in the company, and you can have cryptographically strong authentication on someone actually being a supplier on to the company before you pay anything to them, and you can verify that they have delivered a value equal to what they are asking to get paid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean that their AI might be the solution, right? If you just imagine the corporate AI who knows everything
Mm,
about the company, knows every meeting, knows every strategic plan, knows every
definitely,
collaborator
yes.
and employee,
Yeah.
and is like, needs to not only you need to sign off, you,
Mm.
lower intelligent human, but like the AI needs to sign off,
Yeah,
that, who has all the information, right? That the payment goes out.
yeah.
I mean, because I mean the CEO said so, right? I guess, but still, like it's kind of like can be a line of defense there.
And then you start trusting the AI more than your manager and your CEO. And yeah, and
That's
then we
so
have
good.
also another end point, which is um, as an example, my friend Jens Nylander is doing a great job of using AI to look around in all the public finances of Swedish municipalities. Have you seen that
No,
running
I
in the
don't.
news?
What is
So
this?
he's since the finances of Swedish municipalities are public information. He's extracted all of that. He's brought out like 22 million invoices
Oh, it's
from
great.
just 1 year, and he's using AI to investigate all the fraud and corruption and incompetence going on. And for example, he's found that there's a non-existing newspaper which Swedish municipalities has paid for in like the past 30 years. They paid 300 million SEK for a non-existing newspaper, and someone has cashed out, like it really lived on that. Uh,
Wow.
and discovering all kinds of fraud, and that people are like switching out. They are actually supplying a service, but when they're invoicing it, they are invoicing this from a different company where which is not registered for tax. So then they don't have to pay an income tax on the money, and people in the municipality are just accepting that all of a sudden there's a new organization number to register when it's time to pay the invoice, and they're like, all right, I suppose that's fine. And that's like a
Um,
widespread way of defrauding um, the government.
that's great, though. Wow.
Yes, yes,
Amazing that someone does this.
yeah,
I mean, it's public knowledge that it's like a lot of waste,
yeah.
but like, beautiful.
Hmm.
I'm gonna
And
read into this.
AI could also like dive into all the open protocols of all the meetings at all levels of governments, and just do journalism basically.
Yeah.
Like um, where are people taking shortcuts and hiring their family uh, and friends over competent people, and making decisions benefiting themselves more than others, and so on.
Yeah, it's interesting. We actually have a bunch of rules. I don't know them like that well, but like I know there are a bunch of rules regarding the transparency of government, right?
Yeah.
At least in Sweden. But that transparency is kind of like, yeah, there's a meeting protocol, but, who's going
Mm,
to read it and who's going to put, one and one together, so to say. But yeah, we can actually use AI for that, like very
exactly.
cheaply.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope this inspires like a whole. I hope this is just the start of him like, starting a business around this or something, or
Yeah,
a
he is
non-profit or
actually. Yeah,
something.
so he's doing it as a like guerrilla PR for his analysis service.
All
And
right.
yeah, and he's like he, he is the Jens who created Jens of Sweden, the MP3 player, and also created Automile and sold that for 1 billion SEK. And so it's a serious business for him, and it's so great that it's like both doing something good for society and then
Yeah.
building a business from it.
Interesting. And he's been doing
Mhm.
it for a bit as well. Like if I
Yes.
just look at his LinkedIn,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look into that. Amazing.
Hmm.
He would be fun to have on the pod.
Yeah,
You reach
I can
out,
ask him. Yeah.
ask him if he
Yeah.
has time. That would
Yeah,
be really
I
cool
will.
to hear more about this.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
I think we are running over time, and go figure with such an interesting topic. Like we are seeing the traces of AI going mainstream, and I think what we're seeing now is just the beginning. But still, like we uh, are seeing how it's starting to play out with all of these uh, trust issues and opportunities, creating new social protocols for how we humans co-create with each other, and now with AI.
yeah. I mean, thanks a lot, Martin.
Yeah,
This has been fun.
thanks, Rasmus, and thanks, listener, and see you in the next episode.